How should the Springboks line up in the second test match against Argentina down in Nelspruit? Now, last week we saw 10 changes. We saw the Springboks lose by 1 point. So there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to see a lot of changes this week. We're going to see a lot of the big guns coming back. Before we get into it, if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button because as you know, we're trying to interview Siya Kolisi and Rassie Erasmus. We've already done the Siya Kolisi interview. It is up on the channel and that's thanks to your guys' support. It means the world to me when you guys hit that subscribe button. We can do cool things like interview Siya Kolisi and Rassie Erasmus. So if you haven't, still about 80% of you that watch this channel right now haven't subscribed. Please hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and as always, drop your opinions down in the comments. Let's get into this lineup. So the players that stayed behind in South Africa to start training for the second test match was Bongi Mbonambe, Frans Malherbe, Pieter-Steph du Toit, Sasha, Damien, Cheslin Colby, and Willie Leroux. So I think we can expect many of them to feature in this test match against Argentina down in Nelspruit, where we try and win the rugby championship. Arguably, we should have done it last week in Argentina. Very, very disappointing performance, but I do think the Springboks are going to come back with a vengeance and to prove a point down there in Nelspruit. So let's jump into this lineup. So starting with the front row, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to go for our best players in the front row, Ox, Bongi, and Frans Malherbe. Now, I do think Oxenchair had a phenomenal game against Argentina. Probably the man of the match for the Springboks. Not only in the scrums, we saw when he went off, the scrums kind of fell apart a little bit, but also his ball carrying, getting over the gain line. He made a lot of carries. I thought Ox was phenomenal. Bongi has been rested, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be starting in that test match in Nelspruit. And then Frans Malherbe, I mean, Ox and Frans are going to try and dominate that scrum, get us penalties, get us onto the front foot so that we can play more Springbok style rugby. So I think that's pretty clear cut for what the front row is going to be. Then into the locks, Eben Etzebeth, I think, will be starting. It's going to be his 128th test match for the Springboks. He's going to break Victor Matfield's record and be the most capped Springbok in history. So he's not going to do that off the bench. He's going to start. Eben, one of the best players to ever play for South Africa, if not the best player to ever play for South Africa. So that's going to be very, very special. And if everything goes right, he's going to win the rugby championship on his 128th cap, which is something truly, truly special. Now, who are we going to pair Eben Etzebeth up with? Well, we don't have that many options, right? We could pair him up with Pieter-Steph du Toit, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Pieter-Steph du Toit is going to play on the flank. We could pair him up with Rowan Nokia or Salman Murat. I thought Salman Murat was below par against Argentina away from home, so I don't think he's going to start. I actually think Rowan Nokia had a very decent game against Argentina and was probably one of the shining moments or shining players in that game. So I think it's going to be Eben Etzebeth and Rowan Nokia in those lock positions. And then into the loose forwards, this is where it does get a little bit tricky. I think 6 and 7 are probably quite clear cuts with Siya Kolisi at 6. I think we missed him a lot last week in terms, not only in terms of his playing capabilities, but also his leadership and his captaincy. We just didn't have that punch that we normally have when Siya Kolisi is on the pitch. So Siya will be in that number 6 jersey. 7, Pieter-Steph du Toit will start in that 7 jersey. Ben Jason Dixon is also an option for that number 7 jersey, but I just think in a vital game like this, where we want to prove a point, where we need to win the rugby championship, Pieter-Steph du Toit will start in that number 7 jersey. And then again, I feel like every week we have this discussion about who should wear that number 8 jersey. Jasper Visser, Ulrich Lowe, or Kwagga Smith. Now, Jasper, again, he played decently against Argentina away from home. Not his best, probably a 5 or 6 out of 10. Kwagga Smith, I think, is just so good coming off of the bench. So the question is, do we give Ulrich Lowe a shot at starting, or do we stick with Jasper Visser in that number 8 position? Now, I'll tell you why I think they'll go with Jasper Visser is because of how experienced that pack is, right? If you look at it, Ox, Bongi, Frans, Eben, Rowan Nokia, maybe the black sheep there, Siya Kolisi, Pieter-Steph du Toit, and then Jasper Visser. That's basically the pack that won us the Rugby World Cup final. So I think they're going to play Jasper Visser. We're going to stay with that experience pack and then have some impact coming off of the bench. So Jasper Visser in that 8 jersey, and that's a very, very good looking pack of forwards to start against Argentina down in Nelspruit. Then moving into the back line, and I think again we're going to go with all the big names here. We're not going to mess around too much. We need to get this result, win the rugby championship, and then look forward to the November tour. So starting in that number 9 position, now with Grant Williams injured, we kind of only really have 2 options, Kobus Reinach, Jaden Hendricks, saying you can also have a shout for Maureen van den Berg, but I think they're going to stick with Kobus Reinach in that number 9 jersey. I think him and Pollard connected very well last week. They got us off to a very, very good start. Pollard seemed like he had a point to prove. Kobus Reinach scored that very nice tap and go try into the corner. So I think we'll go with Kobus Reinach at 9, Handré Pollard at 10. Like I say, I think Rassie Erasmus likes that combination of Kobus and Reinach. I think if Kobus and Pollard, I think if he starts Jaden Hendrickson, then he'll probably look to start Manie Leboeck, because like I say, I think those are the combinations that Rassie Erasmus likes at the 9 and 10 position. But I think starting Kobus, Handré at 10, then into the center pairings, I don't think we're going to mess around too much here. I think we're going to go Damien de Allende and Jesse Kriel. Lukhanyo Umplay 12 in that first test against Argentina. He did an okay job. I think the whole team didn't really have a great day, so it's difficult to shine in a team that isn't performing. But I think we'll stick with Damien de Allende and Jesse Kriel in that number 13 position. Then into the wings, there's only two guys I think that are going to play wing, and that's Cheslin Colby and Kurt Liorense. And then into the 15 position, I think this is where it gets a little bit more tricky, because we have Willie Leroux, we have Apelele Fassi. Obviously, we still have Kane and Moody who could slot in anywhere. But like I said in the intro, I think we're really going to bring back our big guns, make a statement in Nelspruit and win the rugby championship. So I thought Apelele Fassi had a good game last week against Argentina. His attack is phenomenal. His aerial skills are phenomenal. Yes, he missed a couple of tackles. He made a couple of errors, gave away a couple of penalties, but he really does fit very nicely into the Tony Brown system. Now, Willie Leroux staying back says to me that it was always part of the plan for Willie Leroux to start this second test match against Argentina. So as much as I want Apelele Fassi to start, I think Willie Leroux will start. He's also on 97 caps, so he needs a couple more to get to his 100th. So I think this is a good opportunity for a very, very experienced 15 to take the field, to really take control of this game, take the game by the scruff of the neck and win it. So I'm going to go with Willie Leroux in that number 15 position. We then move over into the bench, and I think this is where, again, it gets a little bit interesting. Do we go for a 5-3 split? Do we go for a 6-2 split? I think we're going to go for a 6-2 split, because even though last week it didn't happen, our bomb squad has been winning us the majority of the game, and it's important to have our forwards fresh against Argentina, who would have also now just flown back with the Springboks. They also have some travel behind them. They're going to be a bit jet lagged. So beating them up front and then bringing on 6 forwards is, I think, definitely the way to go in the second test match. I don't think there's going to be too many surprises for the forwards. Replacement hooker Malcolm Marx, he had an okay game against Argentina, not one of his best, so he'll be looking to provide some impact. The two props, you could argue that Thomas du Toit could fill in on the bench. I thought he had a decent game against Argentina away from home, but I think they'll go with Gerrit Steenkamp and Vincent Koch. So that's a very, very good front row. And then into 19, 20, and 21 is where it gets a little bit tricky, because we do need a replacement lock. Now, yes, Pieter-Steph du Toit can fill into that number 5 jersey or 4 jersey, depending on who comes off. But I actually think what's going to happen is they're going to put Ben Jason Dixon on the bench. Now, Ben Jason Dixon can either slot into that number 7 jersey or into the lock positions. Or what's probably most likely is that Ben Jason comes on and then Pieter-Steph moves into either Ruan Nokia or Eben Etzebeth spots, depending on what's happening. So we do have 2 lock replacements if need be, being Pieter-Steph and Ben Jason Dixon. I think we'll only need one. I think Eben is going to be tasked to play all 80 minutes. So I think having Ben Jason Dixon on there as a utility forward that can play flank and lock is very, very important. And then I think for the last 2 loose forwards, they're going to go for Marco van Staden and Kwagga Smith. Now, Marco van Staden can fill in for Siya Kolisi in that number 6 jersey. He made a couple of steals last week against Argentina. And then Kwagga Smith, I think, is a direct replacement for Jasper Visser. So you'll see that I have left out Ulrich Loh. That's only so that we can have some cover at lock. Then Kwagga Smith can slot into that 8 jersey. Ben Jason Dixon comes on for Pieter-Steph du Toit. Marco van Staden comes on for Siya Kolisi, and Pieter-Steph probably moves to lock at some point in the game. Then the 2 backs, we need a scrum off, so we're going to go Jaden Hendrickson, who didn't have a terrible game last week. And then the final player, we're going to have to put Manie Leboeck on the bench. And I know there's going to be a lot of comments about Manie, but we need a fly off, and I don't think Rassie Erasmus is just going to drop him after missing one of those kicks. And I know what you guys are going to say. He's had so many opportunities to prove himself. I'll put myself out there and be honest, and maybe even say that Manie Leboeck might start this test match against Argentina. You just never know what Rassie Erasmus is going to do. We need to give him, I know it's hypocritical of me to say we need to give him time and then he doesn't perform, but it's one kick. The whole team wasn't up to scratch on that day against Argentina, and I do think Manie Leboeck will feature in this 23-man side, especially because Sasha is injured and he's only going to be playing in the November tour. So that's how I see the 23-man side lining up against Argentina. It's going to be a very, very interesting test match. vital that we win it. We need to win this rugby championship. Yes, we only need 1 point. Yes, it's very slim that Argentina win the rugby championship, but we need to win the game so that it actually feels like we win it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you haven't, please hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.